from unknown parts of metropolitan New York City. I am the hip and the
Yes, hello everybody out there in H&L Nation. Good evening, or of course good morning, good afternoon, whenever you might be tuning in on a, man, are we jam-packed with stuff, as of course we are H&L, Hip and the Lip, a sports podcast, and not just New York sports, but we get to focus on New York sports specifically today because our New York Yankees, yes, are one win away from the World Series. Unbelievable. Who could have ever thought? So much to do, so much going on. All the four major sports in action tonight. If that excites you, I know severe uptuck on this end over here, as October, the best month of the year for sports, absolutely hands down, especially when the Yankees are in it. The Islanders are bad, but not bad enough. The Rangers do stink. The Knicks are awful, but maybe the Giants make a little run. We can be excited because they won a game last week. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. How excited are you for this just exhilarating time, Mr. Hip?
Yes, and the Jets, they came up a little bit short. We'll get into that, but they're still at 500 after 6 weeks. Okay. Look, rate us on iTunes and drop a comment or follow us on Twitter. Yeah, the Lip with his tweets about whether Judge's the ball when Judge was in the outfield was interfered with when the ball on the fence. Oh God, no, it was interference. Yes. Oh yeah, no, that's ancient history now.
The little snot-nosed brat that yanked the ball away from Aaron Judge. I did express my my extreme anger for that on the Twitters. That's right, but yes, that is very much ancient history as ever. My God. As is Joe Girardi's screw-up in Game 2 of the Cleveland series. I mean, just absolutely severe upset.
This is just a magical type of run for the Yankees, a team that nobody expected really to make the playoffs, let alone be one win away from the World Series, taking out already the Indians, one win away from taking out the Astros. Just an incredible run. Their pitching has just held up. It's defied the odds in my estimation. And look, they've quieted these Astros bats all series. They haven't scored more than 2 runs in any game, right? The Astros through 4 games.
Well, no, they scored 4 runs in Game 4. They've scored 9.
Excuse me, they were up 4-0. Yep. How dare I forget? Okay, so 2 games with 2 runs, 1 game with no runs, and 1 game with 4 runs. For the Astros, still
9 runs total. 9 runs total.
Yes, you could do the math, unlike I could not last episode.
That's right.
And the incredible comeback in Game 4, the story of the series, maybe the story of the season for the Yankees. Now, where looking like the turning point was heading in the Astros' favor, down 4-0 in Game 4. But no, the Yankees come back and tie up the series and just dominate last night. And now tomorrow night, Friday night, they could punch their ticket to the World Series against what is very likely to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, about to wrap up.
I think
Game
that's
5
a surefire guarantee. Yes.
Yep. As we speak. So look, Look, even if the Yankees don't make it, I mean, still an incredible run. They have 2 cracks at it. Both are going to be in Houston. Keuchel actually came out and admitted to the intimidating Yankee fans having an effect on his pitching performance last night, perhaps, or just I don't even know why you would admit to that. Although I guess it's not the worst thing in the world since you're leaving Yankee Stadium for good this series. Yeah, so what's a couple of takeaways for you from this Yankee baseball squad?
I mean, we could be here all night. I mean, we can just go through everything.
Please no.
Please, for the love of God, no. So for those of you that have a very long commute, well, hopefully we can fill the void for you. But I mean, it's just, where do you start? Where do you start? I mean, do you start with the very broad themes and where this team was coming into the season, the expectations that they had, hipster doctrine, somewhat in effect? I said 85 wins. The fact that you know where I'll start. I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with Brian Cashman.
Start already.
Yes, Brian Cashman. Here we go. Pin back your ears. Here we go. Brian Cashman. During the trade deadline, what we talk about at the trade deadline, the Yankees are in it. Yes, they had their expectations of this being like one of those bridge years. We're going to let the kids cut their teeth. Maybe our offense is good enough to carry us to 80-something wins. Maybe we'll be competitive through September, but if we come up just short, whatever. Brian Cashman at the trade deadline said, "The hell with that. The hell with plans. The hell with it's not our time yet. It's not our turn. It's not the right." He said, "The hell with that." Something that Garth Snow always does the opposite of. He says, "Nope, we're not ready to win. We're not ready to win. Maybe in 5 years we'll be ready to win. I'll still have a job then because I'll have a job for life here because I have a golden parachute from Charles Wang." I digress. Brian Cashman said, "We're going for it." He made two trades. He made a trade for Sonny Gray. Now I know Gray has not been, for the most part, he's been above average at best. Was very, very good in Game 4. Got a quick hook. I don't know why, but
he hasn't been terrible though. Hasn't been like
I said above average. He's been above average at best.
Well, that's pretty much what you would expect from Sonny Gray. Anyway, maybe expect slightly better.
Well, I mean, he's had his moments where he's been very good, moments where he has not been so good. But the trade for Robertson, Canely, and Frazier invigorated this team. It solidified their bullpen. And Todd Frazier, as being involved in fantasy baseball, all I knew about Todd Frazier: low batting average, lots of home runs, and lots of strikeouts. That's all I knew. I knew nothing about the man, about his personality, about the way that he would infect that clubhouse, which is such a joyful and jovial personality. He just brings, life and energy to that team. And I think it really, and, you can obviously look at, the Yankees' struggles in August and say, well, did it really catapult the team? He didn't really hit initially, which is all true. But that trade also solidified their bullpen. Robertson and Canely have been fantastic in the playoffs, especially with Betances' struggles and the fact that he's basically relegated as a non-factor. So, I mean, you could start there. Obviously,
his home run off of Charlie Morton in Game 3 could not have been a more Yankee Stadium home run. I mean, the one where he was off balance, opposite field, poking the ball, literally the ball was down and away, and it was almost like he was just trying to put a defensive swing on it. It was like one arm. It was a one-arm swing, basically.
It was a one-handed, one-arm swing. It was. Pop fly.
It was the most ridiculous home run I think I've ever seen.
I mean, it would have been almost as bad as Lindor's home run, or if it would have been a home run, the one that Judge took back in Game 3 against the Indians. That was basically a pop-up. I pointed in the air and said, "Who's getting it?" The second baseman, maybe. And that ball carried all the way to the wall. That's what Frazier's ball did, carried all the way to the wall. I mean, that was a huge hit. I mean, the Yankees were looking for any kind of jolt offensively. I mean, he gives it to them right away. So obviously that's a huge hit in this series. But I mean, when you go trace the timeline of this Yankee team and you look at the way that they've gotten better in terms of their starting pitching. The starting pitching throughout the whole playoffs, well, for the most part, has been absolutely sensational. Tanaka, I mean, you can only say enough about him. Sabathia, oh my God, where did this come from? We'll see Severino tomorrow after, he got hooked in, got the quick hook in Game 2 because he was supposedly injured, which he said a zillion times in the postgame. I'm not injured. I'm fine. Leave me alone. But they're starting pitching, their bullpen. I mean, Chad Green, Tommy Canely, 9 innings and no runs in this series. The starting pitching.
All with an ineffective Betances.
And with an ineffective Betances. So again, that trade solidified the bullpen. Both Robertson and Canely. We know what Green has meant to the team. Starting pitching, 1.75 ERA in their last 8 games going back to the Indian series. Against two.
You go back to Yankee. Go back against to this rotation at the beginning of the year. It's especially the way Tanaka was pitching. Look, Severino just had a huge breakout season. That clicked. Tanaka, for some reason, has now suddenly figured out how to dominate hitters again. Like it took him most of the year to figure it out. Okay, Sabathia, what the hell? Where did this come from?
Completely reinvented himself. Throwing the cutters, throwing the sliders, coming back with his, four-seamer every now and again when he has to. I mean, completely reinventing himself.
Yep. And kept him in the game in Game 3. They gave him a hook after he let up 4 straight hits. Understandable, even though he had 9 strikeouts through 4 1/3, and then he lets up 4 straight hits. And
Game 5 against the Indians, yeah.
It's Game 5 against.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yeah, well, no, that it was debatable. I agree actually with Joe taking him out. I disagree with them taking Sabathia out in Game 2 of that Indian series, but pitched a tremendous game in Game 3. He's lined up to pitch Game 7 if they need him for a Game 7. Hopefully they won't. Hopefully Severino can take it home against the mighty Justin Verlander. But how about this Astros offense that the Yankees have reduced to just a complete shambles right now, and an Astro team that was escaped the first 2 games of the series, probably saying to themselves, you know what, we didn't hit, but we did everything right. We made all the little plays, the defensive plays, getting the clutch hit. We did it. We went back to the fundamentals. Great starting pitch. We went back to the fundamentals to win the first 2 games. And they have just completely been shut down by the Yankees starting pitcher. They got the Astro offense in the regular season. They were first in the following categories: runs per game, batting average, OPS, doubles, second only in home runs to the Yankees. They had a absolutely incredible offensive team this year. When you look at that lineup, and now you look at Altuve, who you couldn't get him out the first 6 games of the postseason. He had 13 hits. Hasn't had a hit in his last 3. I actually think he's changed his approach out. I don't know what you've seen from Altuve. I think he's changed his approach. I think he's actually gotten too patient, and he got away from being aggressive, which, he kept hearing about how he swings at everything. His strike zone is wherever the hell he can get his bat to, kind of like Vladimir Guerrero back in the day, hitting pitches over his head and at his shoelaces. Obviously, Altuve's, 5'2", or 5'5", whatever he is. But he has gone hitless. Reddick, no hits for the series. Springer's 1 for 18. Bergman, 2 for 17. Marwin Gonzalez, 2 for 15. Their team batting average is 147 in this series. They haven't hit a home run in this series. They have a
lot of streaky hitters, and at the end of the day, the numbers compiled to as you described, but a lot of streaky hitters on this team, and the core of Altuve and Correa have just. They've gotten some hits, but obviously not enough supporting offense around them and look, bats can go cold. I mean, that's just the nature of this game, and that's why the Yankees are where they are right now.
Billy Beane, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. I mean, that's what he always said with his sabermetrics and his analytics. It's a crapshoot in the postseason. I can win the regular season because over the long term, I'm going to do this A, B, C, and D. My numbers say that if I get Scott Hatteberg, I'm going to win my division.
It's not a complete crapshoot. I mean, there's probably the going into the series, you'd probably give the Astros a 55 to 60% likelihood of winning the series, but that's still look, they're still very well in it, and they still might win the series.
Oh, yeah, it's not over by any stretch. Verlander, who was absolutely brilliant in games. I mean, you talk about
unbelievable performance.
Oof. Oh my God! I mean, first pitch strikes every hitter. I mean, I was oh God. I mean, I was absolutely marveling at what he was doing. I mean, yeah, he was shutting down my team, but he was absolutely just brilliant in that game.
Games 1 and 2 are phenomenal because you were on the edge of your seat from start to finish of those games. You couldn't turn away and miss a pitch. So that's why games 1 and 2 of the series were just that much fun. And look, the Yankees blew away Charlie Morton and company in Game 3. So that was kind of a after they broke through offensively, it was whatever. And then the great Game 4 comeback, and then the Yankees were in control all Game 5. It wasn't really that great of a game. We'll see what's in store.
Well, I mean, Game 4. I mean, I honestly thought after Castro made the error. So you have. I mean, first off, Girardi was wrong to take out Gray, and this is not a second guess. I screamed right away. Why are you taking him out for? They haven't touched him all game. He takes out Gray. Gurriel gets the bases clearing double, and then after Castro commits the error and allows the 4th run to score, I said, you know what, that's it. I just don't see him coming back at this point. Lance McCullers, for those that have listened to us, how about Ace himself, Lance McCullers, who we've talked about, and I said right away when they were deliberating on who was going to start Game 4, please let it be the other guy, Peacock or whatever his name is, because we know that Ace can go out there and pitch like an ace, and that's exactly what
for 6 innings.
For 6 innings, but another terrible managerial decision, over managing there by AJ Hinch, taking out McCullers there. He takes him out after the Judge home run. Now look, Judge hit it 10 miles, that home run, but you know what? you let your pitcher continue to pitch, unless you just felt that at that point he had completely lost it. But you know what? It's 4-1. You still have a 3-1. You still have a 3-run lead. It's not like it's a 1-run lead. Let him give up another 1 or 2 hard hit balls, where then you know, okay, it's over. We have to get him out and bring in the bullpen, which has been bad. I mean, the Astro bullpen, which we talked about, we at least from afar, it looked like it was a strength of the team, that they had a solid bullpen. Their bullpen has been terrible. The Yankees the Yankees right now, their goal tomorrow is well, here's what I'll say about tomorrow. And I know I'm jumping ahead against Verlander. And it's almost contradictory in what the Yankees need to do tomorrow with Verlander. So here's the question: the Yankees' last game against Verlander, game 2. They took every first pitch strike. They never got aggressive. They were patient to a fault. Verlander exploited it. He even said in the post-game show, I was expecting them to get aggressive. They didn't. And fine. No, he basically said, I have no idea why they didn't get more aggressive. So what's the goal here now in game 6 is to make him work, to see if you can put the thought into Hinch's mind as to getting Verlander out of the game early, why he would ever do that. If Verlander is pitching well, he would. You figure he's not, but basically then, if you're not going to work the count against him, then you have to be aggressive and hope that you can actually hit the ball, hit fastballs that he's going to throw over the plate early in the count to get him out there. And then, knock him or see if you can score a few runs and then maybe knock him out that way as opposed to working the pitch count. So when they say pitch count tomorrow, I say no. The hell of pitch count. The guy can throw 140 pitches. He's that durable. He has that kind of an arm. He can do it. So I say be aggressive. If we see the Yankees being too patient again, my head's going to explode, because that's exactly what did them in the last game. So game 4 again.
Look, the Yankees know that they were too patient. They know it. Doesn't mean they're going to change their approach. We'll see. Gardner, I presume, is going to lead off and continue to set the table like he has. And Judge is going to take a million pitches probably no matter what. So.
And which I understand. I'm not telling everybody to completely change their approach, but the Yankees even said for Keuchel, we were going to take the pitches that because Keuchel obviously being a different pitcher, he's not living in the strike zone, or at least in the middle. He's living at the edges of the strike zone. So they had a much better game plan, and you credit the Yankee scouts. I mean, the way that they have shut down both the Indians and the Astros, and after getting shut down by Keuchel, their entire lives. I mean, Keuchel had a 1.09 ERA, I think, against the Yankees for his career in like 8 starts, which is just insane. And the Yankees finally get the Keuchel a little bit. Keuchel's yelling at the umpire for getting, not getting called strikes, because obviously he lives on the edges and needs to get those calls, on the outside corner or the inner half of the plate. Otherwise, he's relegated to be an average pitcher, because when he's dealing and he's hitting his spots, it's tough to touch him. But if he's not getting the calls on the outer part of the plate, and you have to make him come towards the middle of the plate, you're going to be able to hit him, and that's what they did. Verlander, though, they have to be aggressive early on, because if they're not, you're not going to work up his pitch count. A.J. Hinch is never going to even think about taking Verlander out of the game until he just feels that he has no choice, because he's got nothing. But that Game 4 comeback, amazing. Game 5 yesterday, obviously getting the Keuchel. And Yankee Stadium alive like we have never heard it. At least this stadium, 09, get the hell out of here. That 09 team was as whole World Series team as they have ever had, or any team's ever had. All right. We'll
see if we're previewing a Yankees-Dodgers World Series next week. We'll see. All right. Hey, let's. How about some New York hockey going down tonight in the Garden?
No more baseball.
Yes. This is a good baseball thread. Yeah, how about some New York hockey?
What's your predictions? How about a prediction for the remainder of the series now? Do the Yankees do it? Let's save it for the end. We can save it for the end too. We can get back into it at the end.
Yeah, let's save it for the end.
All right. So moving on to the Hockeys.
I'm sure that our listeners otherwise would turn it off now had we not left that cliffhanger. Yeah, so look, the Rangers Islanders early on in the season at the Garden, and the Islanders, how about barely holding off, kind of, the Rangers in a 4-3 shootout victory. But man, they scored 2 early goals, and then they kind of just
fell apart. Played
no shows the rest of the game. Pretty much, and they just disappeared, and the Rangers tied it with about 5.5 minutes to go. They had a disallowed goal as well, the Rangers, in the third period. And somehow the Islanders...
That was absolutely a...
Yeah, the Islanders pull out the shootout. And is there any reason for you to feel excited about Rangers or Islanders hockey right now?
Well, the Rangers are a complete...
Rangers' record is terrible.
They're a mess. They're a mess. The Rangers are a complete mess right now. They have no identity. They have no idea what they want to do. There's already been talk, chatter about changes, and not like a little tweak like Adam Cracknell, but like legitimate. Maybe we'll look to explore to trade some, make a significant trade or even dump one of our coaches. And when I say one of our coaches, I mean the head coach, Alain Vigneault, who's,
Rangers are 1-5-2. Islanders 3-3-1.
Yeah, and the Islanders have not played much better. I mean, the Rangers are a mess, but the Islanders are really not in much better shape. I mean, especially when you look at John Tavares. And everything is going to come back to John Tavares. Everything that the Islanders do this year is going to come back to John Tavares. And now the fact that he is clearly pressing, the fact that he right now has sometimes you go through stretches where you don't even know he's playing. He has played that badly at times this year. He has points. He has 3 points on the season. They all came in one game. Every other game, he has been pointless. This is John Tavares, a guy that is expecting to get a $11 or $12 million a year contract at the end of the season, whether it's from the Islanders or from somebody else. Everything is going to come back to him, especially when he has a stretch like this where is the contract situation weighing on him? What is going through his head right now? Is he committed to coming back, contingent upon A, B, and C? Is he thinking about potentially leaving at the end of the season? What is going on with John Tavares? And every single game that he doesn't score or get a point, this is going to ramp up even more. And obviously we don't know what the situation is with the arena. They put in their bid for Belmont. They're not going to come back anytime soon, at least not in the next few months. At least I wouldn't think. I mean, this is New York State we're talking about, so they drag their feet on everything. Especially something like this. So the Islanders right now, their defense has been at times a disaster. The goaltending's been okay, but the defense at times has been a disaster. Pulak finally got an opportunity to play tonight, played 8 minutes. I mean, they kept them away from the defensive zone whenever they possibly, every which way they could. Played, again, like 8 minutes and change, but on the power play, obviously was put in the lineup to play on the power play. They had 11 forwards dressed tonight, and only 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. You look at the way the Islanders have played so far, it's been more bad than good. There's been some bright spots. Barzal scored his first goal tonight, and he's played much, much better. He's gotten better and better each game. You like what you see from him. Hosang got benched tonight. Why? I don't know. You know what? You can tell me about his turnovers and all this nonsense. Let the kid play. Let him make his mistakes and let him learn. He passed up a shot, an opportunity to take a shot. I understand you have to send a message at some point if he's not going to listen to the coaching staff. So it's not the end of the world, the benching. But you know what? Let the kid play. You can see him being scratched next game for Beauvillier. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Hosang scratched. But, he only has like 4. He has more points than Tavares, but let's bench him.
All right. Well, look, we'll revisit this team. There's a lot more hockey left, and I think we got to give the listeners what they want, and that is some football talk.
Well, actually, one more before we move on to the footballs. How about Connor McDavid? If you watch a highlight of him tonight, you pull up on the Twitters or whatever social media you get, put in Connor McDavid, type in his name. You'll see an absolutely incredible, eye-popping, just off-the-charts play. On a goal tonight. Exactly. Yes, it was O-face. It will be an involuntary O-face when you see this. It's that good. It's that amazing. Just type his name in. He's that good.
If we were in television, we would not have top 5 plays like SportsCenter or whatever. We would just have our O-face plays of the night.
Maybe pretty much they're really good plays. Maybe they're very H plays.
Ready? It's time for the O plays.
The O plays of the week. What makes your jaw drop more than anything? Let's find out.
Okay, look. I just want to touch upon the Jets briefly. Look, they're 3-3. They got off to a 14-0 start against the Patriots. McCown making some passes downfield and, carving up the crappy Patriots defense. Then the offense went into a shell. Brady finally got into a bit of a rhythm. Not really that comfortable, but, better weapons, obviously.
Hunter Wilkerson out there. Come on, he's very comfortable. And Leonard Williams, I mean, I'm sure he was having a picnic out there.
Well, they're obviously with a lot more talented offensive players than the Jets, and scored 24. Was it 24 straight points? I believe.
The and then half was atrocious. I saw the highlight of that again. That was an atrocious pick by McCown. That was a terrible pick.
And look, the play that could have been, the play that could have propelled this team back into the game, the play with ASJ, Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
ASJ.
I'm just the fact that they were able to overturn that call. I just will never really understand. And I am going to review it now. But basically, what was ruled on the field was that he fumbled the ball out of the end zone after he caught a pass, resulting in a touchback. But the ruling on the field was a touchdown. So what was so bizarre is basically the rule itself, I think, is, I feel like the way that the play occurred, it should not have been a touchback, if any. But the rules are quirky enough that that's what happened. Basically, on overturning the call, they had to establish that he possessed the ball, caught it, and possessed it before he broke the plane. Then they had to establish that he lost control while within the sphere of the end zone, if you will.
The sphere.
Whatever you want to call it. The zone, No,
I like. I'm saying I like. Was that your word? Or is that their word?
I just made it up now.
Okay.
Yes, I made up the word sphere. You never heard of it.
And then you're reading like the official explanation, the sphere of the.
Because it sounded so official up to the point of the word sphere. and then he actually didn't. It went out of bounds, and he didn't repossess it until he was out of bounds. Because that's what happened. He actually had control of the ball, but he was laying out of bounds. I don't know. It just had to check all three boxes.
It was a gut-wrenching play. It was a gut-wrenching play.
And it would have made the score 24-21. I'm almost certain. The Jets still would have been down. It would have been Patriots ball. I get all that, but then it got to a point of too little, too late for the Jets. And hey, look, they're still 3-3. They play at Miami this week, and then they host the Falcons and the Bills, and they go to Tampa Bay. The way this team's playing, they could win 2 of those 4 games. They're competitive enough.
Yeah, their bye week is very late. Yeah, they have a very late bye week. So, but yeah,
they win 3 of those? I don't know, and that's a tall order to ask. Atlanta's been really bad, but I should say Matt Ryan has been really bad for him. But this is a get right week for Matt Ryan, playing in New England. The rematch, all the. With all the hoopla surrounding that. But, this Patriots defense just has allowed a 300-yard passer for every single game this season so far, which has never happened in NFL history through the first 6 weeks. Can Matt Ryan get back on track offensively against this shreddable New England defense?
Shreddable, considering.
Yeah, I just transitioned off the Jets right there. So that'll be a fun game to watch. I think the Pats are getting 3.5 at home, and so how about the Giants just completely dominating the Broncos? A bizarre game to me. Given the Broncos were given 9.5, or they were 9.5 favorites, and just looked completely inept.
Yeah,
and the Giants establishing a running game against a dominant defense.
Yeah,
Orleans Darkwa.
How about that? Yeah, the Giants, you definitely could not have predicted, especially the way that the whole week unfolded. Really the broader theme for this game, obviously you could talk about, the offense not really doing anything, through the passing game and all being the running game, and, making a few plays on defense, and, mistakes by Denver, turnovers, and missed field goals, and it all culminated in the Giants' victory. But this game, if you ever thought that the Giants could go one of 2 ways, either come completely unglued, completely, the players, have a mutiny based off what happened with Rogers Cromartie, who I guess is going to be reinstated or has been reinstated, But after that whole situation with just everything, the injuries, and then the Rogers Camardi situation getting suspended, and you felt like this was a make or break point for the young coach Ben McAdoo, and if the team completely, had a mutiny against him,
Mailed it in, yeah.
And they basically just stopped playing, quits for him, and they get blown out 38-0 or something like that on national TV. That might have been the final straw for Ben McAdoo. As ridiculous as you might think, like, oh well, what are you talking about? We're in week 6 of his second year. He made the playoffs last year. You know what? This Giant ownership has already expressed that they're very unhappy with the way the season has gone, and maybe they're second guessing their decision to make McAdoo the coach. But hey, they come out with the win, and let's see if they go the other way now. I mean, there's no guarantees. They still have a lot of injuries, obviously, on offense. They'll get back Shepard this week, but credit, testament to the team for showing up, for not mailing it in and obviously playing for their coach. It sounds like, initially it sounded like everybody thought McAdoo was wrong in the way he handled the DRC situation, and then they changed their tune. Well, maybe actually he was right. Even Rogers Camardi was like, yeah, I guess I should have been suspended, but the Giants have been very much on the back burner in this town with what's been going on with the Yankees, and that they've just. I think that's probably good for them because now that all the attention's on baseball and the Yankees, and the Giants can go about their business, and they have a very beatable Seattle team coming in this week, and if they can pull it off this week, they have the bye. They come back with the Rams, who have been up and down this year, but very beatable, obviously, and then the seed 49ers.
Everyone's beatable in the NFL. Everyone's beatable.
That's true. That's very much
pretty much. That's the way that this season's shaking out. There might be a few teams in their building where it's going to be next to impossible. The Saints might be looking like a team like that this year with their defense is improved. It's not great, but I'm going off topic here.
I think it's a little misleading. I still want to see the Saints actually, and especially like in a big spot, late in the game, they have to make a stop. I want to see them do it. I'm not impressed. I'm still not overly impressed.
I'm talking about at home more so than on the road for them. I'm just looking at a team at home that, Seattle's going to still be tough at home, but have they lost at home yet, Seattle? I don't remember. But look, in any event, the Seattle's traveling to New York. It's not at least it's a 4:25
Yes,
but it's
game.
Not the early game. It doesn't start till 4. Whatever. Look, Seattle hasn't been. They've been up and down too, just like almost every other team, except for the teams that have just been down, like the Browns and the 49ers, and pretty much the Giants until last week.
It's just been very tough for the NFL this year. If you like that, I mean, that's exactly what you're getting. Up is down, Absolutely. Left is right, day is night. I mean, it's just been one of those years.
Cam Newton looked like he was nearing the end of his career the first few weeks, and then he started playing like Cam Newton of old, somewhat. Jacksonville's
Atlanta losing at home to Miami. I mean, it's
Atlanta losing at home to Miami. There you go. The team that you would just never have expected to lose at home against a Miami team that's just been pitiful.
We haven't even touched on Aaron Rodgers yet, as the best player in the league is down for, I guess,
probably the whole year,
basically the season. Yes.
And now, Vegas is not putting too much faith in Brett Hundley because the Packers are getting 4 points at home, hosting the Saints.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
It's in Lambeau.
That's absurd. I think I know what.
I'm telling you, it's that Saints defense. I'm telling you.
I think I know which game I'm taking for our picks.
So I picked up the Saints defense this week. Yes, opportunistic turnovers for Brett Hundley's first start. We'll see what happens.
Of course, yes. Wow. I think they're probably daring you, I guess, to take the Packers, but we'll get to that. But,
and what do you know? Ezekiel Elliott was suspended. The suspended was reinstated, and then he went to court and got.
As our resident legal expert, can you?
You know what?
What's going on with our justice?
No,
it's embarrassing. It's our system of justice. It's a joke.
It's ridiculous. And after this latest round of back and forth, I've thrown my hands up, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I care enough to go into all the nuances
I don't think anybody cares anymore. I think everybody's just like, mailed it in with this already, and everybody's forgotten why.
At this point, let's just have it over with. It's too much back and forth in different jurisdictions, and it's just incredible. Like it's basically a never-ending, back and forth legal process that I shouldn't say never-ending, but there's so many opportunities to appeal within this short time frame that it's just this is how long this stuff takes, and it plays itself out in the court system with the back and forths that it just it could take a year to drag on, and that's why he keeps flying.
But what's worse is that this should not even be in the courts. Isn't that the whole idea of having management and the employees working out a collective bargaining agreement and having a mechanism in place for any kind of dispute where the courts are not supposed to be involved, and now you have this mockery of the court system with this appeal and injunction and stay, and it's a joke. And you know what? You could say, well, I don't understand it. I don't know anything about it because I'm not, it's not my area. You know what? You can just look at it. Just looking at it from a novice perspective, it just looks absolutely embarrassing. Not just for the NFL and for everybody.
Embarrassing to who?
For our judicial system, and the fact that this was not supposed to even be in the courts. This was supposed to be settled by NFL management and NFL employees. And the fact,
yeah, but I don't think it's the judicial system's fault. I think that the collective bargaining agreement. Well, we'd have to dive into the details, but there must be some wiggle room, obviously, that the courts are allowing him to continue playing. There must be some language in there that gives an out, saying that the decision was, something like by the commissioner was arbitrary and capricious. I don't know if that's it. There's something. There has to be.
But that's because arbitration also. I mean, it isn't.
But there must be some opening based on the way that the bargaining agreement is drafted to go to court, because they could close the loophole and say the decision by the commissioner is final, period, regardless. Obviously, that's not in there, because then they wouldn't be. There's an opening to go to court. I mean, it's. I guess they're So anyway, we'll see next week if there's any update there.
And again, everybody just forgets why we're doing this in the first place. The fact that
pretty much. I mean, you just get more boiled than, is he going to be on your? Can you activate him on your fantasy team? Or
yes, do you have Alfred Morris or Darren McFadden? Yes, pick up Darren McFadden.
It's easy to lose sight of what drove this in the first place, because there's just been so much back and forth.
By the way, Kiki home run, 3 home run. Kiki Hernandez, call him Kiki home run, 3 home runs tonight for the Dodgers. So that game is over. That series is over.
Seriously.
Whoops.
Kiki Hernandez.
Kiki Hernandez. How about that? 3 home runs. Unbelievable. But speaking of collective bargaining agreement, how about the fact that it might be null and void anyway if Colin Kaepernick proved his collusion suit against the NFL? Good for him, bruv. I applaud Colin Kaepernick. I'm rooting for him. I am rooting for him. I mean, and that was just a bombshell. I mean, we really didn't see it coming. And what's funny?
I don't know how you prove it, but maybe. Look, you would think that he wouldn't have done it unless he had some kind of evidence.
But the fact that he waited until now, and that he probably said to himself, "Hey, you know what? I know that they're obviously blackballing me, but what am I going to do? I'm just going to sit here and hope that finally something, will materialize. I'll get a phone call. I'll get a tryout. I'll be able to get, because obviously he wants to play." And then as soon as the Tennessee Titans decide to sign Brandon Weeden, he's like, all right, that's the last straw. You know what? If you're going to sign Brandon Weeden and say he's a better quarterback than me, obviously I know something's going on. I'm going to bring this suit. You know what? Good for him. The NFL owners have been pathetic in the way they've handled this. I don't even know which side to take here. I mean, all sides are all sides. The fan side,
thing is, I don't know. I don't know.
That's who I'm siding with. The good guys.
That's fine, but what was it the right time to do it? Like what you can't, as far as like proving his case, like it's circumstantial. You can't prove signing another guy is, I don't know.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, that was the impetus for it. I mean, that's not the only evidence he's used. I mean, his lawyer, I guess, is very confident that they're going to find a smoking gun. Look, the bottom line is to prove collusion, you have to obviously demonstrate that the owners got together and said, hey, we're not going to sign him because of so and so. if every individual owner just says, no, I'm not going to sign you for whatever reason, obviously that's not collusion. That's what I thought of early on.
Is any owner going to come forward not anonymously and admit to that?
Well, I mean, they're going to go through their discovery process. They're going to try and, find whatever evidence that they possibly can. Whether they do or they don't. I mean, this obviously is going to have long-lasting ramifications. Now it's all about the national anthem and what Kaepernick started. And look, Kaepernick wasn't looking for this. I mean, he was just trying to, he was just trying to bring light to an issue that he, holds, near and dear to, in which, he could obviously, of course, understand and empathize, which I think a lot of people in our country have lost their sense of empathy, and they have completely ignored the reasons why these players are doing it, and it's sad. I'll be honest, it's sad. I'm not going to go into a whole thing on it. Obviously, this issue of the national anthem has not been resolved, and the NFL came out and said we're not going to force our players to do it after, scumbag Jerry Jones says, oh, you're not going to play. If you're Greg Hardy or Ezekiel Elliott, you can go out and beat up women, and you can still play for me. That's fine. But if you put a knee on the ground, their national anthem, you can't play for me. Just Jerry Jones, shut your. Shut up. It's this back and forth, and this issue is just I don't know what's going to happen. And now you hear ratings are down this, and people are tuning out, and people are writing angry letters, and everybody's upset over what's been going on. I'm just going to read a quote quickly by Doug Baldwin because I think this sums it up really, really well. And for those that will just yell and scream that the flag is being disrespected by players kneeling, I'll just read his quote verbatim. This has never been about disrespecting the flag. This has always been about trying to better society. We hope we can work with the NFL to do that. It's up to us to speak for those who don't have voices to speak, working to help those who need help, working to try and make society better is both patriotic and honorable. This has never been about disrespecting the flag, and ends it there. That really sums it up perfectly by Doug Baldwin. So, for those that are upset, take into consideration that quote, and then, reevaluate your position. At least I would hope you would. So, all right. We'll see what happens with Kaepernick. And the CBA, though, it does get blown up potentially if he does prove his case. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I'm sure that there'll be news about that.
You would think that they have some kind of evidence to prove the case to, move forward with it at this point. We'll see.
All right. All right.
How about some picks?
Oh, yes, picks. Yes. All right. All right. So we'll do 2-2 again. After I went, did I go 0-2 the last week? I picked Baltimore. Whoops.
Probably.
Big fail there. Yeah, not so good so far with the picks this year. All right,
dude. I've been about barely above 50%, I think, on the year because I do a pick'em league, and I have not been doing too well. Well, I'll look at the ones that I chose, penciled in, and see how confident I am with these. Carolina is plus at Chicago. Chicago's getting 3 points. I don't know. I just somehow the Bears beat the Ravens miraculously last week. That was another shocker. The Ravens have been really bad offensively, so I could see why they were susceptible to that. Look, Cam Newton's playing better. I just don't see how they get slowed down enough to not win this game unless the Bears defense is just so opportunistic that the Panthers can't put up enough points. But I have to go with Carolina and Chicago. Chicago getting 3 points, taking Carolina there. Your turn.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna start off with my Giants. I am gonna start off taking the Giants right now, getting 4.5 points at home against Seattle. You know what?
The line's 6.5. It moved.
It's 6.5.
It was 6.5, and it's
okay.
4.5.
Okay.
So clearly, putting money on the G-men
at home. Seattle has not impressed me. Their defense has been okay this year, but they have been at times bad offensively. They are not a good road team.
Offensive line stinks.
The offensive line has been bad. They have not run the ball. Wilson has not played well. He's turned the ball over. He is just that offense right now is not clicking. Their defense again, it's okay. They're a stingy defense. They're okay against the run. But I think the Giants are going to be able to. I mean, they're basically looking now to completely change their identity offensively. You're going to see them try to establish a run game. Doesn't mean they're going to abandon the pass. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to have Shepard coming back, and Ingram's going to be integrated more and more into the offense. But I think that the Giants this week, I think that their victory over Denver reinvigorated them. I think they actually believe now that if they, that they kind of recompose themselves and, just kind of evaluate, evaluate the wreckage, but, recompose themselves. And, if their locker room, all the discord there is kind of like settled down a bit and everybody's kind of back on the same page. I think the Giants are going to potentially go on a run here, and I think it'll continue at home against Seattle. 4.5. I mean, at home, come on. Seattle is not that good. I'm sorry. So I think that is definitely I'm not going to say no-brainer because you just never know. But I think the Giants, it'll be a close game either way. It could be a field goal game. But I think 4.5 is a lot, especially for a team on the road coming cross country. All right.
I'm looking at 2 games, 2 tough games. The Steelers hosting the Bengals, Chargers hosting the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to bounce back this week. The game is a pick 'em right now. It opened at -1.5 for the Chargers, so some money was thrown the Broncos' way there. And I think Denver bounces back here. I think they lost in a look-ahead game hosting the Giants. Their defense is really solid. They lost because they had they struggled a bit offensively, but a couple of turnovers did them in. The Chargers are just not an impressive team really on either side of the ball to me, and I think the Chargers establish a running. The Broncos really commit to establishing the running game, set up some passes to Benny Fowler is gonna. A couple of guys on the Broncos are going to emerge here, I think, offensively, and they remember they have Jamal Charles still. So I think it's going to be too much for the LA Chargers to defeat Denver. So that's my second pick.
All right. Actually, where I'm going to go for my second pick? I was saying Green Bay or hinting at Green Bay. I'm not going to go there. You know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the best team in New York. How's that? The best team in New York, not the Jets, not the Giants, not the Buffalo Bills. How about those fellas up in Western New York at home against Tampa Bay, laying 3.5, laying 3 points? You know what? Buffalo is turning into a pretty good team, completely unexpectedly. Their defense has been very good. Their offense, it can be inconsistent, but they do have guys that can make plays on that offense. Tampa Bay has not been overly impressive this year. We expected better things from Tampa Bay this year, and they should have lost to the Giants. I mean, they could be 1-4 right now, Tampa Bay. They have been inconsistent offensively.
Is this regardless of whether Winston starts?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Winston could start. I'm still taking Buffalo, even with Winston. Winston turns the ball over, regardless of whether it's him or Fitzpatrick. Even if you want to say the line was for Fitzpatrick, but I'm taking Buffalo here. I like Buffalo at home. I just think that right now they're a better team than Tampa Bay. 3 points at home. I mean, I can see them winning this game going away. You want to say it'll be a close game, and maybe it could be a 3-point game. It could come down to the wire. You know what? I think Buffalo is going to win this game going away. Maybe like a 24 to 13 type of game or something like that. I don't expect much from Tampa Bay. I really don't. So give me Buffalo laying the 3 at home against the Bucs.
Where do you expect the offense to come from Buffalo? McCoy?
Yeah,
having a big bounce back game.
I think that Tampa Bay's defense has not been good. Tampa Bay's defense times has been bad this year. I think Buffalo they have enough guys that can make plays on offense. Matthews might be back this week. Obviously McCoy. I know Clay is still out, right? But I think that Buffalo could put up some points against that bad Tampa Bay defense. They're banged up. They have not played well. You want to say it'll be a 17-10 game or something like that, so they cover, or 17-13, whatever. That's fine. But I think Buffalo wins the game, and I think they can win it going away. They may even make a play on defense to, they might score points on defense even, or maybe set up their offense. Again, the turnover Fitzpatrick or Winston, whichever turnover prone quarterback is going to play.
The 6th interception, Ryan Fitzpatrick from last year.
Yeah, it's Kansas City. That's right. Whoops.
One game. God. Do you have a hipster moment of Zenith this year? Oh God.
This year.
This year, yeah, it's a good one.
Moment of Zenith.
Do you have a good one this year?
Well, we will. Well, of course, we have to come back to the Yankees. I asked you for your predictions, so I'm not going to let you get away from there. So, should we do our Yankee predictions or do HMOZ and then move on to Yankee predictions?
So let's go over each game, if there is indeed 2 games. So, Game 6. It's Verlander against Severino. Severino apparently not injured.
Apparently.
7.5 over under. Obviously, not too many runs expected to be scored, and this is the kind of game where it's a flip. It's a coin flip. I mean, it's who's going to get. Is one pitcher just going to be a little bit off, or is the ball going to bounce one team's way? I mean, I don't really see how much more to it than that. So I'll give the edge to the Astros because they're at home.
All right. So you say the Astros tied up on the back of Verlander, and then
I do.
And then it comes down to the flip of the coin, Game 7.
Charlie Morton against CC Sabathia.
For all the marbles. You know what? It might be Ace's ace, though. Don't count on Ace's ace pitching on 3 days rest.
Maybe.
I mean, I could see Ace's ace starting that game, and then, if they, maybe he gives them 3 or 4 innings, then you go to Morton, or, maybe they'll start Morton, and then they'll have Ace's ace ready if Morton stinks.
McCullers has better stuff. I mean, Morton's just a hard thrower now with one off-speed pitch, but McCullers has tougher stuff. Is a much better curveball.
Morton, though, threw okay. I actually thought he threw okay in Game 3. He was a little bit of a hard.
That's how he's pitched all year. He's pitched like that all year, basically. But he's home run prone.
Yeah, I mean, he was throwing.
He hits 97. He throws in the mid upper 90s now, which came out of nowhere. Yeah,
Charlie Morton. Well, he throws the sinker, though. So, the one thing you always hear about the sinker ballers is that you want them to have maybe a little bit less of on their fastball, maybe like, low 90s, because otherwise, it'll straighten out when you have more on the fastball. So if you have a higher velocity on your fastball. So maybe that was his problem. But because his balls were moving. I mean, I thought his balls were moving. They were moving. The Yankees could definitely hit him. I mean, you don't fear him like you do Verlander, but I thought he threw okay in Game 3. All right, so flip of the coin or prediction?
I'll go the Yankees win in 7.
Yankees win in 7. All right. Well, I guess I have to choose the Yankees as well. You know what? I say Verlander. He's going to go as far as he can possibly, unless the Yankees just rough him up early and Hinch has no choice but to take him out. He's going to be pitching at least 8 innings again, maybe 9 innings again tomorrow. He doesn't want to go back to that bullpen. But the Yankees, again, have to be aggressive. They're aggressive early in the count, and you can at least make him think about potentially, if you can make him think about potentially altering his game plan, and then, maybe he starts to make mistakes. I think that could be the formula for success for the Yankees. I'll just say they take it tomorrow. Yankees in 6. Yankee-Dodger World Series for the first time since 1981.
Nice.
How about that?
All right.
It was an annual
which we all remember which we remember well. Yes,
there was an annual ritual back in the 40s and 50s, it seemed like, with those 2 teams. Every year, the World Series, Yankees-Dodgers. And then, of course, the Dodgers would leave Brooklyn. And, we'll get more into that next Monday, hopefully, when we're previewing it'll be a Dodger World Series. Just a question of whether it's Dodger-Yankees. So there's my prediction. Hopefully we're back with you on Monday, breaking down everything and previewing the World Series. That'll involve our New York Yankees. When coming into the season, what I say, 90 for 90 for the Mets, and maybe they make the World Series. Whoops, not so much for the Mets. Speaking of the Mets, how about Justin Turner? Remember him, that guy that the Mets non-tendered back in the day? Yes, Met fans, I'm rubbing salt in the wound. Daniel Murphy is enough of a wound. How about a little Justin Turner sea salt in that wound? Justin Turner, who has established himself as one of the best postseason players ever. Not this year, not for not the last couple of years, not for the decade, ever. Justin Turner's postseason numbers throughout his career: .378 batting average, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs in 25 games. He has a 1.154 OPS. Point of reference, Babe Ruth had a career OPS of 1.164. And Justin Turner's OPS for the playoffs is 1.154. And Justin Turner just passed Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig for #1 all-time in postseason on-base percentage. He is 13 for 18, at least coming into today with runners in scoring. Actually, might even be a little higher now, but was 13 for 18 with runners in scoring position. He has been an absolute monster for that team in the playoffs. I mean, he completely redefined himself. He's turned into one of the best hitters in the league in the postseason. It's like you just.
Well, he was hitting like this last year too. This is not a surprise. I mean,
Well, I'm saying his whole postseason career, he against the Mets 2 years ago.
But I'm saying during last year's regular season, he was a really good hitter.
I'm just saying.
And he was a really good hitter all the year this year. It doesn't surprise me at all. He made a change. He added a leg kick. Marlon Byrd apparently taught it to him, like towards the end of his last season with the Mets, and apparently, and now he deliberately tries to hit fly balls, and this is the outcome. He's figured it out. It's unbelievable.
It is absolutely. I mean, the Yankees, whoever has to faces him in the World Series, going to have a hell of a time getting him out because it's.
You do struggle to find how many players in baseball in the last handful of years. I can't think any off the top of my head who would leave a team and then suddenly be like a different hitter, like just a completely different transformed hitter from that point forward after they left a team. Besides Daniel Murphy and Justin Turner, I don't know how many examples you can find that are like those two guys.
You're just rubbing it in Mets fans' faces. Daniel Murphy, Justin Turner.
I'm rubbing it in my own face then, and I'm just thinking like I think it's more coincidence than anything that it happened to the Mets, but maybe not. I don't know. How many other examples? Let's just sit and think about it. Think about it afterwards, and should throw it out there to the listeners if you could think of any other examples where, something like that happened.
Well, how about we can highlight Aaron Judge to an. I mean, not this is not an analogy to Justin Turner, but he was every at bat striking out. And Yankee fans wanted. I would have said that you're not obviously taking him out of the lineup, but I would have said if you want to
talking about where a guy changes a team. This is Aaron Judge's rookie year.
No. I'm not comparing him to Justin. I'm not. That's not an analogy or a comparison to Justin or what his situation or Murphy. I'm just saying, you look at a guy like Judge who last year, struck out in half of his at bats, and it was only a week ago where he was striking out. It seemed like every at bat, and everybody wanted him out of the lineup. Well, I should say everybody, but there were rumblings or at least voices. Hey, you should move him down the lineup, which I would have been okay with. But just look at his turnaround, in a week. Since he was 4 for 30 or whatever he was with 20 strikeouts.
You knew that was going to happen at some point. I mean, they just needed to stay in the playoffs long enough to see it happen.
Yes, so.
I feel like with Judge.
All right. All right. So that concludes that segment, and with that brings our final segment of the week. Everybody's favorite, yours and mine, of course. That would be the beer of the week, hipster style. Take it away. What do you got for us, Mr. Hip?
Yeah, so last night was our second Career Crafters networking event at Rattle and Hum West in the city. Good turnout. And I came away with having a couple of these. The LIC Beer Project Bonaterra. They have a great draft list there. And this was included on the list. It's a new IPA from LIC Beer Project, which is in LIC, Long Island City, Queens. Brewed exclusively with Seagull Ranch High Oil Cascade hops. It wasn't a beer that had an incredibly distinctive taste. It just had, to me, it was like the right amount of flavor and hoppiness for an IPA. It wasn't like super overwhelmingly hoppy and dense or dank. It was just very drinkable, 7%, enjoyable, refreshing, and well done, Long Island City Beer Project. All right.
And I'll actually just officially conclude this episode with the hipster moment of Nadir. 3 words: New York Knicks. Way to end on a down note.
Well, did Porzingis at least not get injured? Thanks for mentioning the Knicks, though. I did watch a bit of the first and second quarter, and
it doesn't matter.
Melo was 1 for 7 at one point. Obviously, they were making an concerted effort to give him as many chances as possible. And of course, doing his I don't know what this is. It's almost like he's shooting himself in the head with 3 fingers whenever he does get, that's his trademark in your face maneuver. I'm like, come on, I guess it wasn't just a New York thing for him to do that.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care about Melo anymore. He's a third option on that team. Who cares about Melo? He's gone. Whatever. I'm not crying for him. So, that's your moment of nadir, the New York Knicks.
All right. Yeah, their debut.
If you were on a high note after the Yankees and hipster moment of Zenith and hipster beer of the week, well, I just brought you down, New York Knicks.
We'll be previewing the World Series one way or another next week. All right, next. All right, next. All right, next. All right, bye. Yes, bye. Yes, bye.
All right.